What's up, all? Thank you for joining this episode. My name's Anthony, and we're joined by another podcast host, and that being Presence Plumb, who is the host of It Starts With Action. She's an amazing individual, currently at the London School of Economics in the UK, but her story is just unbelievable to me, and it will be to you, because at the age of 9, she moved to a foreign country, not knowing the language, getting bad grades, and being bullied incessantly, until using that to fuel her to become a better academic student in person, eventually receiving the Good Student Award, which only 10 receive in Hong Kong, but thereafter was continuously bullied, in a bad state and not in a good place. 6 years of anorexia proceeded until at the age of 14 had a near-death occurrence and almost killing herself at 14, which she's open to because she wants others to learn about her situation and what she went through. It was a month after she moved back to her home country and developed alopecia, but the thing that really helped come to grips with her is through all that, taking action and starting her podcast eventually. Within lockdown in 2020 specifically, during the pandemic, it caused her to reassess how she views the world and herself. There's so much to learn from her. She is so unbelievable, and I love her dearly just from this episode and getting to know her. So I hope you enjoy and take something away for yourself.
I have a dream.
It's one small step for man.
I am the greatest.
You want something, go get it. Period.
Presence, thank you for joining us, those listening. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for letting me come. I'm really excited.
Yeah, of course. And one thing you said before we just started now was the power of deep questions. And I'm going to be asking you a ton of deep questions that'll be like a faucet into even deeper learnings, realizations, your story, everything. But as we both have a podcast now, we do podcasting. I wanted to ask you how pivotal that's been in discovering more about yourself and like what your podcast is. And then I would love to ask you more about your life journey up until now, but I'll let you field that to start.
Oh, cool. So so my podcast is called It Starts With Action, and it's all about basically inspiring people to take action. But over the time, like I've been doing it nearly a year now, I realized that because there's so many podcasts out there and everyone's podcast is very different and special. So to me, my podcast I see it as more than a podcast, but it's a way of living, and it's called It Starts With Action. And like the traits that I've identified with all the guests I've been talking about who are doing crazy things and just taking action consistently, they all have the traits that I kind of formed an acronym called ACTION. So A is for awareness. They have extreme self-awareness of who they want to be and exactly what they want, and taking responsibility for what they want, being authentic as well. So not being afraid to show up as themselves, but also identifying who they need to become and actively changing themselves to become who they want to be. So that's for A. And then C is for confidence. People who are, especially entrepreneurs, they are confident in their idea and themselves when people, they don't necessarily support them, but because they have confidence in themselves, they continue to take action. And then T is for tenacity. So tenacity is like determination, grit, perseverance. You can't just take action, you need to be consistent with it. And then I is for intention. So living life with intention. People who are doing crazy things, they all have an intention for everything. They go into a conversation with an intention. They go to a meeting with an intention. They show up with intention. So living life with purpose, and that gives you motivation. And then ACTIO. O is for open. So being open to grow, being open to fail. Sometimes, especially you realize sometimes that maybe your dreams are quite small. When you listen to other people's dreams and other people's goals, you realize, maybe I should be open to dream bigger. Why not set the limits higher, set higher standards, and just go for the, I forgot the quote, go for the stars.
Shoot.
And then you land.
Shoot for the moon. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that one. And also, being open to fail, because a lot of the times that we aren't taking action is because we're just scared. We're just scared that things are going to go wrong, and we're also scared that things are going to go right, success. So both ways. And then N is for now. So my name is presence. So now is a kind of taking action every single day towards the future, but also while we're striving for the future, also live in the present moment and enjoy the process. Because if we don't enjoy the process, then there's literally no
Yeah,
point.
that's everything.
So that's
Yeah.
kind of the mission and goal of the podcast, is to really inspire, really share this message and way of living, and kind of shows who I want to be and who I want to, like, how I want to live as well.
Wow, that's incredible. I love no pun, but like the intention behind that. And I didn't even know. I thought it was just the word action. I didn't know the acronyms were a part of it. That's really cool. Yeah. And the name presence, that fits super well. I when you reached out or we connected, I thought like the name Presence Plum was just really, really awesome. But
Yeah.
on
I don't
that
know why I would put that, to be honest. That was just by luck, the chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even, yeah, going back to like, the ones who basically named you that, I wanted to take a pivot and go back to square one with what your upbringing was, because as people will get to know you, as I often found in interviews and discussions, people fall in love with the person before the message. So people will 100% fall in love with your story and you, and then your message will resonate if it hasn't hit home already, or even before you share more. But I would love for you to explain your upbringing and get into more of your story up until
Yeah.
now.
So buckle up, guys. Make some popcorn or something. But yeah. So sorry. I'm just excited. But
No, it's yeah, and I will say too that the fact that like in that enthusiastic spirit, the ability to be so enthused to share your story is like what we do at Dream Big and Co. It's all about like everyone has a story. We help you find and share it from the ground up, and like everyone can share something. So I think like you embody that. So get your popcorn, people. Yeah, I agree.
like, thank you for, yeah, like just giving a platform for people to share their stories, because I never thought that, like, it was because I went on I went on a podcast to be a guest, that I realized that actually my story does help people. And I know there's someone out there listening who has maybe like, everyone's story is unique and different, and it has an impact on someone that you don't even realize until you share it. So thank you so much for creating the platform to let us share our stories.
Absolutely.
So my story so I was born in the UK, and my parents separated very young, and I had an amazing childhood, all fun. And then when I was 9 years old, I moved to Hong Kong to study because of family reasons. And then, yeah, I was just a child and had a massive culture shock, because I didn't really expect to stay there long, but we ended up staying there for 7 years. And that's kind of when my nightmare kind of started. As a child, I was really confident, but then suddenly going to a different country, not knowing the language at all, was kind of a shock. And I went to an all Chinese speaking school. So I struggled a lot with school, and I was always the worst, because we were given reports where we knew exactly where we ranked in the year, and I was always the lowest of the lowest. And so I
Yeah,
was
because
really
it's
insecure.
very competitive over there too. So makes
Yeah,
sense.
it's kind of sad, to be honest, thinking back. It's just, why do we need to, like, as a 9, 10-year-old, why did I have to be so focused on school? But anyway, that's another story. But so naturally I was bullied a lot, because I think, when we're young, we don't really know it's not good to bully. So as someone who had really bad grades, like, people would be on the school bus home and start, talking about the scores that I got, and that was very consistent, like in class, up in the school bus, at home. Just now, I think that it's like all conditioning. So when you have names called at you, when you're told that you're dumb every single day as a child, that has a really big impact further down the line that you don't realize until you grow older. So I became very insecure and just really didn't know how to talk to people, really shy, didn't have any friends, and just really sad, really miserable. But then it got to a point where I was just like so fed up, and I thought, why can I not be good at school? Am I really that stuck? So it was just a decision that I decided, yeah, I need to prove someone wrong. So I just realized that I could change because I just got into all study mode, didn't care about anything, just slammed everyone out and just studied. And yeah, I did end up getting the best in the class, and then slowly over the year that became the best in the year. But I just became a studyholic, basically. That's all I cared about. I just cared about grades. And the bullying did stop. So I realized that, okay, number one, that I can change. Number two is that being the best, people will not bully me, but start to admire me. So kind of my thought process was I always wanted to change to fit in so that people would like me, so that I can, so always changing for other people was my mentality. And so I thought, yeah, my life is going to be perfect now. I'm going to be really good at school, blah, blah, blah. But I still didn't really have that many friends. And then I moved school, secondary school, and basically another set of people started bullying me for how I looked, because I was in a school which I still look Asian, but I'm kind of half. So yeah, I just started being bullied for how I looked.
What's the other half?
So I'm half Hong Kong, half British. So yeah.
Got it, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I just started being bullied for how I looked, and I was perfectly healthy at the time. But as I became someone who had very high standards for myself in terms of grades, but also I just wanted to be the best to avoid being bullied. I just was so insecure. I was really insecure, and all I wanted was to be bulletproof so no one can touch me. So when I started being bullied for how I looked, I was like, oh no, I need to do something. I need to change. So then this 1 week apple diet, which I had no idea how you even lose weight. I didn't even know what a calorie was, but I just went, how do you lose weight quick, as everyone usually does. Then this 1 week apple diet spiraled into obsession and a 6-year-long journey of anorexia. So that was when I just became even more focused, continued to do really well at school, but just cut out all the food, and I became someone who was literally dead. As a person, I had no spirit, I had no energy. People would talk to me, I would just block them out, but I looked really good, because and people did stop bullying me for stuff.
So yeah, and one thing, I don't want me to cut you off, but was that driven because of people making fun of you for how you looked, so you wanted to do something to look better?
I think in the beginning, yes, it was.
Okay.
But in I had no idea what anorexia was until at 14 I was basically nearly dropped dead and I had to go to hospital, and they told me that I had anorexia. Like, my whole family, like in Asia, we aren't educated about eating disorders. I had no idea what it was until I got it, and I didn't even realize I got it until I was told in hospital that I got it. So
Wow.
in the beginning it was because I just wanted to look a bit better, and then slowly it just went into obsession and just more of just wanting to go to the extreme, which can be good and can be bad, which is what I realized, which like everyone who's going through something really hard and who maybe like an obsession, anorexia, you can use this skill of being super focused, being super obsessed, use it in a good way. But it's something special, that's who can starve not a lot of people, not everyone can starve themselves for an extreme amount of time, but the fact that you can, you shouldn't, obviously it's not good, but you can use that in a different way for good, but just not self-harm.
If you reframe it to see it as you could do it in the opposite direction, to you literally showed you have the ability to change, but you were just going in a direction due to things you were trying to mask or use as cover up in the moment because of what people made or how people made you feel, which we'll get into, is just completely wrong, and it shows more of their character than yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was just someone who'd really, really cared about what people thought of me. So then I just continued this work hard, not eat, and just focused on myself, and then got to a point where I was 14. I don't know why I still remember it very clearly, because it was a very special week. So I had my eye on this school prize where you would only get it if you're like the best in the year, and as a trophy. It was really nice, and I always had that as the goal. So I was 14 and I got that. So it was like 1 week before our ceremony where I knew I was gonna, go on stage and get that prize. But then the week before, because of anorexia, it got to a point where I was just too weak. My body was shutting down. I had, they scanned my heart and there was something going on with my heart, and I was just sent to hospital. And literally, I missed the ceremony, but they kind of brought the trophy to me, and I was just like, in a hospital bed, looking at the heart rate monitor being like 20s going down, feeling my body shut down, and then holding this trophy, and then realizing that there's you have no friends around you who cared about you, that you're in hospital. You just like kind of get that moment where you wake up and you're like, I've worked so hard, I've starved myself so hard because I wanted to fit in, I wanted people to like me, and now I'm here with what I got, with this really nice whatever glass trophy that doesn't mean a thing now, but it was everything that I wanted. And I got to this skinny version where everyone's too afraid to bully me now, but like no one likes me, and I'm literally losing my life because of working so hard to fit in, to please other people, and just because I was really insecure. So that's when I realized that, oh my gosh, well, like when I was in this deep anorexic phase, it just felt like a blur, and then you suddenly wake up, it's like, what have I been doing with my life?
Yeah, it's like at the biggest pit, like the deepest darkness you went. It's like all of that. I can't experience it for myself, but I can imagine like how all that came to you at once when you were at your lowest.
I thought that would change me in terms of like it would make me just immediately want to recover like that, but I had to have a second thing happen that really made me wake up again. So I then spent the next 3 months in hospital. That's when I really learned about like self-awareness, is because I was forced to not do any schoolwork, and I wasn't with family, so it was just me alone, 14, in hospital, and everyone around me was in hospital as well, like having some sort of suffering, but maybe not anorexia. Every time I talk about my story, I always talk about the girl next to me who she was paralyzed for life, and she didn't choose that. She was born that way, and she's going to be in that hospital bed for the rest of her life. And so looking at her every single day for like 3 months, as well as just seeing other people suffer from physical pain, and imagine going to bed, the experience was so shocking to me. I don't know, I've never been to prison, but sometimes I feel like it's even worse than prison, because again, I was stuck there. I wasn't allowed to move at all. And then you just realize that just how lucky you are to be alive, number one, and that you are in control. Like, the reason I was in hospital is I decided to starve myself. I decided to go to the extreme. And so if I decided to be this way, then I can decide and take action to go the other way. And like I'm lucky that I have the chance to do so, unlike the girl next to me who literally doesn't have she's gonna be paralyzed for life and she can't live life. And then that's also when you ask yourself, like, okay, so am I just going to live my life, or am I going to make the most of my life?
Yeah.
So
And I want to ask one question here, and I'll let you continue. But I saw a really cool like AMA poll on someone's Instagram story the other day, and they asked, ask me anything. That was the point of it. And one of their followers asked, "What's your one word for life?" And the guy responded, he's really renowned at what he does, really, really amazing designer. He said, acceptance. And I thought of you, since, it would be a couple days when we were going to talk, which is now, but, what would be your one word for like, that got you out of your,
mm,
I don't want to say self-pity, but like what were your darkness, it would be a better word.
wow, that's a really good question. Oh, Hmm. I think really slow.
Nah,
So
it's a deep thinker. That's good. Because I mean, acceptance it made sense, but like when you went through what you went through, it seemed like this thing of kind of like accountability or ownership. Um, but
hmm,
I would never know. It's you would know that.
I don't know what word to describe it, but it's just to the point where not fed up,
Mm.
but because
Is it
the
like
funny
apathy?
apathy.
Apathy is like, I mean, it's like where you kind of you're like tired of being tired, basically.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. I was so tired of being tired. But like the funny thing is, like even though I say that I like this whole experience changed me a lot, I didn't fully recover from like I wasn't fully accepting myself until my second event, which basically so after 3 months, yeah, I was meant to stay longer, but I just couldn't take it, so I kind of forced my mom to, make the like sign the papers to let me leave the hospital. And then I spent just 6 months just working and went back to the UK because I was going to do my GCSEs and my A levels and university. Um, and so I was like, even though it's kind of, I knew I wanted to change, but to me, I still wanted to look acceptable, if that makes sense. Because like to me, like the anorexic brain is like, if you recover, you're basically going to be a really fat person and no one's going to like you. But that's the immediate thought that comes to
Mm.
me when I had to recover. So I never really wanted to recover, so I was
Wow.
always in this quasi state. So I was recovered, but I wasn't recovered. So I looked really slim, but I still had health issues that I knew I needed to deal with by gaining more weight. But I didn't look sick. So that's my goal. But my mind was still really sick. Um, so I kind of continued this state until I moved back to the UK and tried to make some friends. And then suddenly, one summer, the first year I came back, I lost all my hair unexpectedly during 1 month. And I think that was a bigger shock because this was something that I couldn't control. And it was
Mm.
also an appearance thing that meant, people can see it and just got me even more insecure. Um, I am still wearing a wig, oh, by the way. So
Yeah.
I just, after the summer,
And this was alopecia.
yeah, this is alopecia. Yeah,
Okay.
so it's
Okay.
when your immune system attacks itself. So it's hair follicles, and then you just lose all your hair or some of your hair. Depends. Some people have it. Yeah, I think it's only like 2% of the population have it. So it's a rare condition, and I never thought that I would have it. Like most, I don't know any person who recovered from anorexia suddenly decided
Mm.
like suddenly lost all their hair. So yeah, I lost all my hair, and I couldn't. This was something I couldn't control, and as a girl, I do like having long hair, and going to school again, I had to wear a wig. At the time, wigs weren't that great, so I had a really thick, bulky black wig. And I just remember going into class and everyone just staring at me like something's
Mm.
different. Your hair is because I used to have thinnish hair because I did lose my hair during the time I was in hospital, so it kind of grew very thin. But yeah, I went into class, a thick, bulky hair, and then like they immediately knew because they knew me. I didn't have any friends at the time as well. I was the one thing that I struggled with a lot until like last year was just talking to people. And so later I'll say like the podcast changed my life in a way is through conversations like these. But yeah, so
Yeah,
I went into
conversation matters.
it does, it really does. Like something I didn't realize until last year.
Mm.
And so just I then started getting people talking behind my backs again, and then there was this girl who just ran to me in the break and just shouted, "Oh, you wearing a wig?" And then just like ran away. And I was just like, okay, here we go again. Just mean people. So
Yeah,
then again,
yeah.
I was just really insecure, always insecure, and really not confident. And so I would cry every single day for like 2 years, because of just you wake up, you see hair on your bed, and then you go to school, and you feel like people are judging you, and then you come back, and then the routine starts again. all while still maintaining good grades at school. I think I used studying as like a way to cope. So yeah, it got to a point where I was just really sick of it, and that's when I started to learn about mindset. Like in the beginning, recovering from anorexia, I just used a lot of affirmations, just brainwash myself with lots of good words. But then it wasn't until alopecia where I fully tried to look online for interviews, podcasts about mindset and self-development, but mainly self-love, because I really didn't have any. I just really didn't like myself. So that's when I realized that that's when I got into entrepreneurship. Is I saw all these entrepreneurs and I loved to listen to their stories, how they started, and they all went through something crazy. Like they either were all broke, or they had a massive accident, and that was just so inspiring to see who they are now. And so I always kind of try to think to myself, if they can do it, then why can't I do it? So then I started to be a lot more into personal development, focus on my mindset, and just came to a phase where I was accepting everything. And then I changed school again, and this school was a lot more better. I still struggled with talking to people, and just sharing the fact that I had alopecia it should be easy, but I think it's the same as someone who's like wants to come out but struggles with coming out.
Yeah.
But like once you do, it's like it just changes your life instantly, just through sharing something that you're sharing your biggest insecurity to someone. It can massively increase your confidence that you don't even realize.
Exactly. And for you to go through what you went through before, and then to transition and try to share, I mean, there has to be some trauma that resurfaces. So it definitely takes some reps to be able to get into the place of, in the practice of sharing outwardly to others. It makes complete sense.
Yeah, the first time I shared it, I did kind of cry, but I'm good now. Yeah, but now I try to see it as like a positive thing. Every hardship, every adversity is just preparing you for something that you don't know what it will be yet. But you, like Steve Jobs says, you don't understand until you connect the dots. You don't understand until you connect the dots backwards. So.
Yeah, and even a bunch of the entrepreneurs we've interviewed on this show, and for the company they always say entrepreneurship's a mindset, and it's kind of funny. Even one of my favorite entrepreneurs, Tom Bilyeu, he recommended this book, Mindset. Yeah, you like him?
Yeah,
Mindset by Carl
dream
Dweck.
guest.
He's great. Yeah, exactly. He's your dream guest for your podcast.
He's my dream guest for my podcast, and also I really like Impact Theory University. I think it's kind of something. I mean, if I was going to dream as big as possible, I would love to create the same impact as he creates, and what he does is just I think it's just
incredible.
Super inspiring. And really changed me a lot. So what was I talking about? So mindset, personal development, that's when I came to it. But then it wasn't until I met my first close friend at school, and I had my first sleepover, and then I was like, okay, I need to tell you something, but don't freak out, and like don't hate me, don't judge me, or like don't run away, because like literally I've not everyone so far I met is just people who have either been bullying me or just runs away when I don't know why now. I think it's just so stupid, but they just would be mean. So when I talked to this friend about it for the first time, and she was really nice and compassionate about it, that's when I realized, there are people out there that actually aren't that mean. And that got me very comfortable with being a lot more open, and just it just changed, like something just clicked. I just became a lot more comfortable. So then I just again focused on school, didn't really tell anyone, wasn't really a focus anymore. But then lockdown came, and then my exams got cancelled. I had 6 months at home alone. And there was one thing I still really wanted to improve on, which was communication. It's something I still really struggled with, and talking to people and meeting like friends that would connect on my level. Because every time I talk about personal development, it's just like, not a lot of people our age are really interested in that stuff. So but my goal was to just find a way that I can talk to more people. So I started YouTube, mainly talking about school and helping younger years to get into university. So that developed into workshops, and then I created my own course for like essays for university, and that got me into just creating stuff, building stuff, trying stuff.
Yeah, and this was the right when you got into London School of Economics, or was it before?
Before, so I'm in my first year, so it was March 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
But then that slowly got me into then I started to be more active on LinkedIn, and then through LinkedIn I started to meet more people that was very similar, like-minded, interested in personal development. And I worked for someone called Luke Burrows, who had a personal development podcast called Grow Together. So mainly I just wanted to connect with people who I thought I could talk to, which ended up working for someone who had a podcast. And then I ended up going on his show and sharing my story. And that's when I realized, and then I started getting messages from people about how much they related to the story and how much it motivated them. And that's when I realized, maybe I can, share my story. And so I shared it to a few more people on like their podcasts, and I realized it has a bigger impact than I thought. Because I never really thought my story was anything interesting. It was just me going through my struggles, nothing really special. But now I'm starting to realize that no matter, maybe it is these like people who aren't exactly out there already or super well known, just normal people like me, who shares their stories, people can relate to a lot more, especially people like our age, my age. So yeah, and then slowly I just talked to some more people, and I had the idea of the podcast because people started to tell me a lot about what they wanted to do, their goals, their dreams, their struggles, just their insecurities, and they wanted to and where they want to be. And when you listen to other podcasts, other people who are already doing crazy things, there's only one thing they always say, which is action. You have to take massive action. And so
100%.
for me as well, I was thinking, why did it take me nearly 10 years to be comfortable with talking to people? Why did it take me 5 years, 6 years to recover from anorexia, and 3 years to be okay with alopecia? Why wasn't it not just like that? Why did it have to take so long? And so like, why are we not taking action on what we want? Like, we know what we want, we have goals, we have dreams. So if everyone took action on their goals, their dreams, then we would have a lot of Elon Musk's maybe.
Yeah, it would be a very a world full of more internal freedom, which would then create a lot of external peace.
Yeah.
Because you think, no, to that point, exactly. Like a lot of people, the reason they behave the way they do when they're older is they resent that they did not do certain things. So they let that out onto other people, which makes them bitter,
Yeah. So the podcast was mainly just to hopefully that someone listening to the podcast afterwards, they would change their ways of action, or like just be inspired to just go and do what they want to do. That's the main goal of it. But then slowly I realized I like kind of reflecting, because that got me to I never really think of my story that much, or how far I've come. The more I think of it, the more I realize how I really got to change it just through asking myself self-reflective questions and really digging deep into my insecurities, why I want to change, my mindset. So that was coaching that I didn't actually really realize. And all the conversations I've had with people since during lockdown, and that because of the conversations, they've gone and done something crazy, or they've become a lot more confident. That's coaching that I didn't realize. And then I just shared, my interest in potentially coaching, but I don't really know exactly what it is, and stuff. But then I got the opportunity to fully go through a certified training course for coaches, and that really got me to understand the framework of coaching, what coaching is, how do you help people. So after learning that, I just tried to help a few people during lockdown, and it really helped them. And I really, really enjoyed the process, just seeing someone gain an insight from a conversation, and over time you see them grow in confidence and take action on what really matters to them. That's just really fulfilling. And so that's kind of my journey, where I feel like this is something that I really, really want to do. At least if it's a side hustle or anything, definitely want to focus on just helping people. But I guess the
Yeah.
problem is like my age. I'm like 20, and I have a lot of people saying, calling yourself a life coach probably isn't the best at this time. Um,
Mm.
so
Well,
right
yeah,
now,
the one thing I would mention is like all of the stuff you've been through can probably accumulate to, way past your age. They say like wisdom comes from experience. So that makes
mm,
sense though that people would say that, but doesn't have to
yeah,
always be that way.
yeah. So right now, I think I'm slowly becoming like sure, because I did stop for a bit after listening to people. They say like, you should not be doing that because of your age, like you don't really have that many skills or like qualifications and stuff. And but now I'm just focusing on helping people that I can help, and usually it's people my age. And while I'm also doing economics at university, which is a different path, but I realized that just anything related to helping people transform and really take action on whatever they want, because life is just too short to not go for what you want and not dream big as well. I used to dream quite small, but I realized if we don't stretch ourselves, if we don't dream big, then we're not going to get to where we want to be. If the limit, if we put the limit like there, then we're only going to get there. We have to,
Yeah, 100%. Which is the dichotomy of also action. It starts with action on your end too. I Going back real quick, I think especially this year, self inquiry is particularly powerful because people are being
mm,
humbled by a lot of what's happening externally. So it's interesting that that ability for you to be of service came at a time when people really needed it most. So you could say like that was the current calling, and it's going to be even more powerful as you continue to grow and build. But yeah, I liked it a lot. I know a couple coaches that have lost clients this year, but due to financial bandwidth for those particular clients, but still helping plenty. And I know people who got into coaching this year just because they felt a calling to do so and leaving their current job. So um, it's crazy though to see your podcast. You already have a good amount of episodes, so you
yeah,
really must have like did some groundwork in the past couple months.
yeah. I just really enjoy it. I think it's mainly enjoying the process,
Mm,
and you just don't realize it's just interesting to you don't realize who's listening to it and who needs it. Even just a post or something, like in the beginning I was very, who would want to listen to this, like how would this help? But then slowly you get messages saying, I really, really needed this, I really need to listen to this, and this really helped me do this. And you're like, there is a reason why I'm doing this, and there is, like, I am creating some change. Because I think if it wasn't for like giving back or helping people like related to transformation or just having these conversations, then my 2020 would be very depressed, like very miserable. um I think just giving and helping people, if someone who's like not happy with their life or anything, just giving and helping can make you so much happier.
yeah, yeah, going outside yourself. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like they. I saw a thing that I believe I said to my friend. I told my friend this, but there was I have like a card of quotes for every day of the year that my aunt gave me. Who, my aunt actually, to the point of when you're in the hospital at one point, she's also fully paralyzed, but she's really into quotes and like inspirational messages. But there was this one towards the end of the year, the card said, and this is definitely not exact, but it was like love is basically a synonym for to give. So the reason people always say, give value, especially entrepreneurs, it's just like so tantamount to love, and it's like the closest thing to it. So it's like you give yourself, put part of your heart in another person, that can help you grow. So it's nice that you got to the point to give so freely or so much, through the podcast, through these conversations with your friends, because they look to you, right? Because they look to you and say like, wow, look at all you've been through. Like, you have to know something, and to be where you are now, you have to know something others don't.
Yeah, I think I never really realized that until I started sharing it. So I know that maybe there's someone out there who's listening right now who who has something in them, but they feel like it's not important, or like, yeah, their story, then I really encourage them to just try to share it. You might have changed someone, because yeah, everyone knows something that other people don't, and everyone has some sort of value, because talking to people my age, which are kind of high school to first year students, we feel like we don't have much value to give, especially when they ask me, how do I get these guests on, when I don't really have that much, value to give. But everyone has value, and everyone can make an impact, no matter how small, or like how they feel like they haven't really done much. Everyone can change something about others, and it starts with action. I
Ex-
think, yeah, it's something also is like confidence, and like, I always thought that I had to wait until I had more confidence to do a video, or I had more confidence to reach out to this guest or something like that. But action leads to confidence. Like, you can be scared, you can just action leads to everything.
yeah,
The most
exactly.
important thing.
And
But it's also something that is, yeah, we don't really do enough.
yeah, exactly. But they always say the first 10 customers is the hardest. The first 10 episodes is the hardest, right? The first whatever. Um, how did you start by getting guests on, and how did you just take the first couple steps? Because I know the journey is about being present, right? And, your first name, right? But
Yeah.
what was that? Like, how did you get the first couple steps in?
I think because my intention of starting the podcast was never really something that I worried about. Like, in a way, I just saw it as, number one, it kind of, I knew I wanted to do something with action. And then, of course, had the dream or sleeping, like the name It Starts With Action came up. And like, to be honest, because like my biggest people who've changed me the most are people like Tom Bellew, Lewis Howes, Brendan Burchard, and Lewis Howes has the School of Greatness. Tom Bellew has impact theory. So I've always wanted to have something that I could share, like a message that I could share. So this not dream, but this hope has always been there since I started personal development, which was like probably 3 years ago. But I never really found anything. Never really had that spark. So when that spark came, when the name came, I'm like, this is it. Like, it just resonates with my heart, resonates with my journey, resonates with me. And so I thought, there's nothing to lose, because I mean, yeah, there's a ton of podcasts out there, but it's lockdown. I have time. I'm young, and why not? So I just started it with a friend who kind of inspired me to start it. And the first episode was really bad. Like, I forgot to record the first 20 minutes. I had to ask him to re-say everything, and then it crashed halfway through. I didn't edit anything out. So if you feel
Oh,
free
wow.
to check out the first episode. It's really hilarious, to be honest. And then there was a few other episodes where it was live on YouTube. I had no idea that I was live on YouTube, and then started getting a comment, and then it was very funny. But a lot of, like, it's not perfect. Listening back, the audio is really crap. I was focused a lot more on the conversation. Like, I saw the podcast in the beginning, which I'm wrong, which I see it differently now, as the podcast is just a conversation that's recorded. But now I realized that I was just focused a lot on the conversation, but not exactly delivering value to listeners. So the main point being is I started it off with no expectation, and
Yeah.
kind of seeing it as something fun. And also, just mainly, I wanted to meet like-minded people. But slowly over time, it's had more purpose, it's had more meaning, and now I see it as a way of living, as opposed to just a podcast. And I really, really, really want to, turn it into something more than a podcast in the future. But again, I guess I need to wait for that spark. But it's just,
Yeah.
I guess it's just, it's, you just have to start, which is, it's funny, it's just so easy to say, right? It's just, you just have to start. But again, it's also so hard.
Yeah, there's a lot of weight to those words.
Yeah, because we have fear of, I guess because I didn't take it so seriously in the beginning is why I wasn't scared of it failing. I wasn't scared of it being perfect. I was just doing it because I thought it would be fun. And I feel like when I do put expectation on stuff, when I start to like, yeah, have these standards, the first step is always much harder.
Yeah, that's why a huge learning this year for me was uh I always thought not knowing stuff was, in sort of this thing of ignorance, was a weakness, but actually when starting something it's such a superpower because you're more willing to dip your foots in this like really um deep reservoir of you can like potential but also some fear because you don't know what's on the other side. You don't know all of the standards, all the requirements. So like the fact that you just got started, didn't really know how to do a podcast, um how to do audio well, how to make the quality great, um and you just focused on the conversation, that eliminated all expectation, but then you kind of morphed it into your own through time. So there's power in
Mm.
actually what people think is a downside.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess like slowly when you see that, it's not you're not doing it just for yourself anymore. I
Mm.
think in the beginning I was seeing it as, oh, I'm doing it for myself because I want to meet like-minded people. I want to share what I'm passionate about, and I want to practice how to talk and make friends. And now I'm like, I think my communication is okay. I'm not afraid to talk to anyone now. I love talking. I've learned about coaching, and I think my audio is better, but now it's really
Mm.
about making sure that every episode delivers value to whoever's listening, and it actually creates an impact. I think it's hard. I don't really want my podcast to be just another personal development motivation podcast because there's so many.
So many.
um, and I think the more you talk about it as well, you realize that personal development, it will get to a point where everything's like repetition. And
Exactly.
you just need to take action. Like, so I really hope that it's going to turn into more of like practical steps onto specific topics to really help people to take the first step in taking action to whatever they want.
Yes, absolutely. And I did take a deep look into all the episodes you've done, and they're a wide range of individuals, but they're really nice. They're really deep. They're really helpful. The one you most recently did to end the year about your learnings and just explaining your story more for those who don't know it. I would advise people to listen to that one first to get to know you more, even if they haven't from this conversation already. But yeah, it's good stuff. It's
Yeah,
potent.
I also hope to do more solo episodes in the future as well
Mm,
on 2021 because like I do really want to be someone who can help in one-to-one in terms of coaching. And I feel like without me sharing what I know and what I learn along my journey, because I'm not perfect. I'm only a university student, but there's so much that I am, determined to learn about, that I feel like it would be of a shame not to share what I learn with other people along my journey. So
yeah,
grow
and
together.
it's you got to think too. This is, besides just right now, this can really create massive ripples for documentation purposes in terms of like, family down the line or like whoever else comes into your life. Like it's, this stuff will live on forever because audio is a complete game changer in history too. Like the fact that you can record
Mm,
and have something go live on the internet for anyone to hear. Um, I think a lot of people don't see that bigger picture sometimes, and like you said, being open, dreaming a little bit bigger, this can really go far, especially like you said too, with a strong intention.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just so much more about podcasts that I didn't really realize until I really looked into it. Like, need to learn about
Yeah.
SEO, maybe in the email marketing, just how to reach more people. Like, that's just a whole sphere of other, just a list of learnings that I want to learn
Yeah, and
alongside.
is that stuff you wanna get into because you're progressing more and more in the next in 2021?
Yeah, I think
Uh,
because mainly, like, I went into podcasting just wanting to share conversations and stuff, but then I think everyone, there's like a big hype in the beginning. Oh, I'm starting a podcast, everyone! Like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But then it gets to the point where it's like, okay, I need to let people who haven't listened to my podcast. Like, I need to reach more people, and
Mm.
how do I do that? Because I would say I'm still on my journey in terms of, you know, promoting myself is something that is definitely the next step for me in terms of, yes, I like to talk about my story, but promoting myself is something that I need to work on.
Mm.
So trying to be on more guests as podcasts and just growing as a person, documenting the journey, and hopefully by me showing my imperfections, other people will not be so afraid to start as well.
Mm.
Which
100%.
is why the
Yeah.
first podcast was really bad and I didn't change it.
Yeah. No,
So
you shouldn't. I think it's a lot of uh, gems and lessons in listening back to that. I um I was also gonna ask too. I like to create space for people to just say whatever is top of mind, and I know a ton of our conversation is that. But was there any particular things that you want to speak to people's minds on, with the year being done, like one of the most unique years in the history of the world, but also in the year ahead? Like any anything you have top of mind currently, just to leave room for you to kind of dance for the end of
mm,
this conversation.
ooh, that's a good question. Just now, me and another friend, we were talking about like mindset and decisions, and like in the end, you know, taking action is what you need to do, and we all know we need to do it, and we all know we have like habits we want to change and stuff, but it all goes down to like making a decision every single day, and being super self-aware and catching yourself out. I think self-awareness, what was the quote? Awareness is the first step to change or transformation. So if there's
Mm,
one thing that really changed my life, and I know changed a lot of other people's, is developing extreme self-awareness. Like when you realize something is not going how you want to be, immediately catch yourself out and make a decision. Just like, you know, I'm doing this, I'm playing this video game and I know I shouldn't be. Just like develop that awareness and like, yep, this is not what I want to do. I decide I'm not going to do it and just stop. I think we often don't take action because we just we let ourselves get distracted, and
yeah.
we let ourselves procrastinate, and we let ourselves fear. You don't need to have confidence to start. You don't need to have fear to start. Like everything you want to do just boils down to a decision that you make, and you are in
Mm,
control. You're in control of your life, and you just need to make that decision and tell yourself that, yeah, this is what I want. This is not getting me to where I want to be. You know, remove that. End of. Like, I guess everyone talks about this, especially in the personal development field. Is, you know, yearly resolutions are, yeah, they're good, but I think it should be, when you have extreme self awareness, you just have resolutions every single second. You know,
mm,
you're so aware of your behavior, of what you want and what you're doing. You just realize that, oh, this is not serving me at this moment. I need to change. Decision, cut that out for my life. Done. So
yeah.
that's one thing that it's easier said than done, but it's an interesting concept that I was just talking today with my friend, in terms of you can change your mindset in a second if you decide to do it. You can be positive
Mm,
in a second if you decide to do it. You can be happy in a second. We are so in control of how we feel, how we think, how we act. We can just do whatever we want, but we need to make that decision.
yeah, yeah. And there's a lot of courage in that, to be able to
Yeah.
do that as well. But as we're recording this to start the year 2021, it's like the best resolution can be knowing what to not do or what to avoid, just as
Mm.
much as people make resolutions for what to actually do. So that like subtraction for addition type mentality. But there's so much wisdom in what you said, and I really do appreciate your vulnerability, your openness, your sharing. And I see something really special with your podcast. It starts with action, your dreams for what you want to do with it. I know yeah, I know good things will come, but I appreciate you sharing.
Thank you so much for letting me come. I mean, I'm still on my journey and I don't want to pretend that I'm perfect or anything. And sometimes I feel like a fraud myself for saying things like this. So just want to put out there that my goal is just to inspire people, but also through one-to-one conversations and coaching, really help them take action on what they want in life and just realize that we can achieve so much more if we set an intention, if we be clear on who we want to be. And that's something
Hmm.
that really, sorry if I'm rambling, but
No,
something
no,
that
not at all.
made me like, because I never really talked to a lot of people who were, I listen to people who inspire me, but when you actually talk to people who are doing, the things that you want to do, or like are taking action, you realize that they are super clear on who they want to be and how they want to be remembered. So just making it really clear who you want to be. And I guess the question for you guys is, how do you want to be remembered by the end of 2021? Maybe think
Hmm.
about that.
Yeah, and then reverse how to do that. Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah.
exactly. Amazing, amazing, amazing.